You're listening to the Music Educator podcast with your host, Bill Stevens, the 21st century music educator man.
Podcasting from beautiful Leesburg, Virginia. Welcome to the Music Educator podcast, bringing you the latest tips, tricks, and practical advice you can use tomorrow. Here's your host and fellow music educator, Bill Stevens.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Music Educator podcast. My name is Bill Stevens. I'll be your host for today. And in today's episode, season 4, episode 33, today we're going to talk about the common problems of the bassoon. Let's do this. The bassoon is a unique instrument that is often performed by the few and the brave. It has its quirks and adds a singular quality of sound that contributes to classical music quite well. In today's episode, we will summarize Mr. Charles West's book, Woodwind Methods, an essential resource for educators, conductors, and students about common problems of the bassoon. I found this book to be invaluable and recommend this book to be in your music education library of must-haves. Common problems. Problem number 1. Now, problem 1 is that often bassoonists put too much reed in their mouth when they play. By doing this, the sound becomes very bright and hollow, which is not the ideal dark and full sound you normally want. In addition, by putting too much reed in the mouth, the instrument will often go sharp and have a poor response in the low register. Simply use less reed and find the sweet spot when you play the bassoon. Problem number 2. Problem 2 is the opposite of problem 1. In this case, the bassoonist is putting too little reed in the mouth. The result of this problem is that the musician will find that their upper register will begin to become flat and higher notes will not be playable. Again, simply play with a little more reed in the mouth to resolve this problem. Problem number 3. Problem 3 is not forming the embouchure correctly. The lips must be engaged to adjust in a dynamic way. Don't play in a way where the lips are too relaxed and inactive. Tip: watch professional bassoonists play. Then analyze your embouchure as you play in the mirror. Then adjust accordingly. Problem number 4. Problem 4 is biting or pinching the reed. Avoid this by playing in a somewhat relaxed yet dynamic manner. Remember, if you bite the reed, your instrument will often play sharp. Problem number 5. Problem 5 involves balancing the instrument with the seat strap. This is often improperly adjusted and positioned. Remember that the left hand becomes tired. As a result, the hand will become tight quickly if the weight of the bassoon is held by the left hand rather than being counterbalanced. This problem creates a domino effect where added tension is added to the body, making the ideal performance difficult. Problem number 6. Problem 6 involves holding the bassoon vertically and then reading the music under the bassoon. This is problematic. Better hold the bassoon diagonally and read the music over the top side of the instrument. Problem number 7. Problem 7 involves reaching and covering the holes on the bassoon. If the musician's hands are not large enough, reaching all the holes of the bassoon will not be possible. For younger student musicians, consider having them use a short reach bassoon. This may help. A short reach bassoon is an instrument with an extended touch piece over a hole that would otherwise be open. As a result, this allows musicians with smaller hands to control the hole. Problem number 8. Problem 8 is a big issue. The reed does not fit onto the end of the bocal. This is because it is either causing leakage or it is not fitting securely. Consider the following. The bocal sometimes gets damaged. This occurs at the end where the reed connects with the bocal. When this occurs, the bocal is often not round and as a result does not create a seal. Amateurs may even worsen the situation by jamming a pencil into the bocal, thinking that they would restore the roundness of the bocal. Unfortunately, this often breaks the solder seam within the bocal. Another possibility is that the actual reed opening may not be large enough for the vocal. In this case, the reed opening may be enlarged with a reamer specifically made for bassoon reeds. Problem number 9. Problem 9 is that the bassoonist is using a bent vocal. Bassoons with bent vocals create tiny leaks within the metal tube. This makes the vocal useless and a replacement must be purchased. Problem number 10. Problem 10 is simply the improper use of the half hole. If a note is not using the intended half hole, it will create a growling sound and is considered an incorrectly played note. If a musician overcovers a half hole, the bassoon will make a wavering sound and will not project as a clean note. Problem number 11. Problem 11 is using incorrect fingerings, which almost sound correct. As a result of this issue, musicians will encounter regular intonation issues and lack a consistent characteristic sound. Problem number 12. Problem 12 is not tonguing. Like any other woodwind instrument, the bassoon must include an element of tonguing to achieve the variety of styles of music. Tongue the bassoon by touching the end of the tongue to the reed tip. Release the reed with air supporting it. Problem number 13. Problem 13 involves the whisper keypad not functioning, or the pad is missing altogether. The whisper keypad is vulnerable, and the pad can easily be sheared off if the player carelessly twists and removes the vocal. Problem number 14. Finally, problem 14 takes place when a popping sound occurs when sustaining a note. This happens when there is water in the lowest part of the curve in the vocal. This is somewhat similar to when brass musicians have excessive condensation in their instrument and have not removed it with their spit valve or water key. For the bassoonist, be sure to remove the vocal and blow the water out from the large end. Do not shake the vocal because there is a chance you might hit something and bend the vocal. If this occurs, it may keep the reed from properly sitting on the vocal. Conclusion. Like many instruments, the bassoon creates a beautiful sound if the musician is trained properly to do so. And also, like any other instrument, the bassoon also has innate problems that need to be overcome by an aspiring bassoonist. These 14 isolated bassoon problems previously talked about will provide any music educator the tools to assist in the development and growth of their student bassoon musicians. That is all the time we have for today. I want to thank you again for joining me for another episode of the Music Educator Podcast. It is a true pleasure to share this craft with lovers of music and educators like you. If you found value in today's episode, please feel free to leave a review and rate us on the Music Educator Podcast app, Apple Podcasts, or any other podcast aggregator. Also, please consider supporting the show or advertise with us on the podcast. Information for this can be found in the show notes. Thank you again for joining us today, and I hope you join us next time. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Music Educator Podcast. For the latest tips, tricks, and practical advice you can use tomorrow. You can subscribe to our podcast on every podcast aggregator or download the Music Educator app for free in the Apple or Google Play app stores. Furthermore, visit our blog at www.bandbuzz.org for additional music education resources. We will see you on the next episode of the Music Educator Podcast. And remember, music can change the world.
Hey everybody, this is Bill Stevens with the Music Educator Podcast. See this episode's show notes for a unique promo code from the Music Educator Podcast to get up to 2 months of free podcasting service with Libsyn. Get your show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify anywhere you want. Get critical stats to help you grow. Find all the tools and support you need to sound your very best. You can even do video. Really. Bring your podcast to life with Libsyn. See show notes for a unique Libsyn promo code and get podcasting.